For over a dozen years, I dedicated myself wholeheartedly to our family's jewelry business, a venture that was not merely a source of income, but a cherished legacy passed down through generations. This illustrious enterprise, originally founded by my grandfather on my father's side, stood as a testament to our family's hard work, passion, and commitment to excellence. When my grandfather passed away, my father naturally assumed control, steering the company with the same dedication that had been instilled in him. Throughout this period, it was always clear to me that the mantle of leadership was intended to be mine. As the eldest daughter, I had been groomed from a young age to eventually take the reins, a prospect that filled me with both pride and a profound sense of responsibility. From my teenage years, my involvement in the business was more than just a duty, it was a genuine passion. I eagerly absorbed every lesson my father imparted, whether it was the intricacies of gemstone appraisal, or the delicate art of crafting intricate jewelry pieces. My father often reiterated his belief in my capabilities, expressing unwavering confidence that I would one day lead the company to even greater heights. In stark contrast, my younger sister, 3 years my junior, never demonstrated the same level of interest or commitment to the business. Her ambitions were always centered around personal pursuits. She dreamed of getting married, starting a family, and living a life unburdened by the responsibilities that came with running a business. It was evident to everyone in the family that I was the destined heir, the one who would carry forward our family's proud tradition. Despite this clear expectation, there was a glaring absence of formal documentation to cement my future role within the company. Looking back, I realize that establishing a formal agreement might have provided some semblance of security and clarity, but for 12 years, I served as my father's personal assistant, a role that showcased my unwavering dedication and capability. My commitment was such that I even made the significant decision to leave my first job, after just 2 years. I wanted to ensure that I wasn't perceived as entitled or complacent. Instead, I sought to gain genuine work experience independently before fully committing to the family business. My departure from that position was entirely at my father's request. He wanted me to join him full-time, a request I embraced wholeheartedly, believing it was a crucial step toward my eventual leadership. However, despite my steadfast dedication and years of loyal service, my father made a decision that left me reeling with shock and heartbreak. He chose to transfer ownership of the business to my estranged sister and her affluent fiancé instead of me. This choice was not only unexpected, but also deeply painful, considering the tumultuous history my sister had with our family. For the past 15 years, she had been estranged due to a series of poor decisions made during her youth. When she turned 18, she boldly declared that she had no intention of pursuing higher education and wanted to explore her own path, a declaration that directly clashed with our parents' expectations for her future. In response, our parents issued her an ultimatum: either enroll in college and obtain a degree, or leave the family altogether. True to her rebellious nature, she chose to leave, deciding to move in with her boyfriend at the time. Unfortunately, that relationship was short-lived, dissolving within 6 months and leaving her without a stable foundation. Months later, seeking acceptance and a place back within the family, my sister returned home with the hope of reintegration. However, her previous actions had left significant emotional scars on our parents. Before her departure, she had inflicted considerable emotional pain, arrogantly proclaiming that she no longer needed them, and that she was better off without such a family. She boasted about her boyfriend's financial stability, insinuating that her parents were inadequate in comparison to his wealthy family. These hurtful remarks not only demeaned our family's standing in her eyes, but also left lasting wounds that took time to heal. When she returned, my father insisted that the same conditions he had previously set still applied. She had to attend college and obtain a degree, regardless of her chosen field, or remain estranged from the family. Despite my sister's attempts to argue and fight her way back into the family fold, my father remained resolute in his decision. Once more, she was told that she needed to leave, this time with a firm promise that she would only be allowed to attend family gatherings for the next 15 years. We were to learn about her life updates through other relatives, since she refused to communicate directly with us. Both my mother and I reached out multiple times, hoping to bridge the gap, but due to our ongoing good relationship with our father, she also declined to engage with us. Her pride and stubbornness kept her away until my father, facing his own health crisis, decided to make amends in a final attempt to reconcile. A year ago, our father's health took a dramatic and frightening turn for the worse. He began experiencing severe heart problems, culminating in a cardiac arrest that left us fearing the worst. The cardiologist delivered grim news: his condition was critical, and without significant lifestyle changes, his prognosis was bleak. Believing his days might be numbered, my father chose to bridge the gap with my sister, aiming to end the long-standing animosity between them. Recognizing the personal growth she had undergone over the past 15 years, my sister agreed to return and reintegrate into the family, setting aside past grievances in light of our father's deteriorating health. During her initial visit, my sister arrived alone. Our interactions were polite yet brief, focused more on reminiscing about the past rather than delving into her current life. She chose not to share much about her personal endeavors, preferring not to center the reunion around herself. While we were kept informed about her professional life through family updates, her personal life remained largely a mystery. Nonetheless, her return was met with genuine happiness, as the focus shifted to healing the strained relationship between father and daughter. The reunion was emotionally charged and heartfelt, offering a glimmer of hope that old wounds could finally begin to heal. However, the peace was short-lived. On her second visit, my sister arrived with her fiancé, which came as a complete surprise to all of us. She revealed that they had been dating for 3 years, and had recently become engaged. This news was entirely private, with no other family members aware of their engagement, which explained why we hadn't heard about it until that moment. They had kept their relationship under wraps, with information only passing through indirect channels. My sister was aware of our father's declining health thanks to updates from relatives, but she was not fully informed about the severity of his condition. Consequently, she refrained from visiting us earlier, believing it was inappropriate to announce her engagement during such a sensitive time. Introducing her fiancé to the family, he appeared to be a charming and well-off individual, evident from his expensive attire and accessories. I was genuinely pleased for my sister, sensing that she had found someone who was financially stable, goal-oriented, and had a clear vision for his future. Through conversations, we learned that her fiancé, like her first boyfriend, was the son of a wealthy entrepreneur who owned a chain of fast food restaurants. However, unlike her previous relationship, this engagement seemed built on genuine love and commitment. Observing their interaction, it was clear that they were deeply in love, and I wholeheartedly congratulated them both, hoping that this new chapter would bring harmony and success to our family. Approximately 3 weeks after their introduction, my father made another unexpected and bewildering decision. He proposed that my sister and her fiancé take over our family jewelry business. One morning, he called me, asking me to come home to discuss something important. At that time, I was managing the business operations due to my father's declining health, effectively acting as the CEO, even though he hadn't officially retired yet. Naturally, I was confident that I would soon assume the official leadership role in the business, a role I had been preparing for diligently over the years. However, that call changed everything. Upon arriving at my parents' house, I found them looking somber and serious. After some preliminary conversation, my father delivered the devastating news. He intended to transfer ownership of the business to my sister and her fiancé instead of me. Initially, I thought he was joking, perhaps testing my reaction, but his seriousness became clear as he maintained his stance. I couldn't fathom why he would make such a decision after only 3 weeks of acquaintance with them, especially given their long estrangement from the family. He claimed he had his reasons, but was initially unwilling to elaborate, leaving me feeling blindsided and deeply hurt. After much argument and emotional turmoil, my father finally revealed that he believed my sister and her fiancé were more capable of running the business than I was. Additionally, he saw this transfer as a gesture of goodwill, a way to welcome them back into the family as they embarked on a new chapter of their lives with their impending marriage. In his eyes, handing over the business was a grand wedding gift, a significant token of acceptance and reintegration. I was appalled by this idea, arguing passionately that a wedding gift didn't have to be an entire business, and that my father had always implied that I would inherit it upon his retirement. I had built my life around this expectation, and his sudden decision to hand over the business to those who had been absent from our lives for 15 years felt like a profound betrayal. I attempted to negotiate, suggesting that we become partners in the business, emphasizing that this was my future and the culmination of 12 years of dedication. However, my father remained steadfast, believing that my sister and her fiancé's background and resources would allow them to expand the jewelry business more rapidly and effectively than I could. My pleas for a single chance fell on deaf ears, and I was left heartbroken, not only for losing something so significant, but also because 12 years of unwavering dedication seemed to have yielded nothing in return. I had never managed to earn my father's full respect, as he never acknowledged the effort I had invested, ultimately excluding me from the business I had poured my heart and soul into. In response to this devastating decision, I made the difficult and painful choice to sever all ties with my family. I had hoped that my sister would at least stand by me, but instead, she accepted the business handover as her own, effectively claiming my life's work as her own dream. She publicly thanked our parents on social media and announced her engagement, leaving me feeling abandoned, used, and deeply hurt. The most painful part was the lack of support from my family. The moment I left my father's house, they ceased all communication with me. It felt as though 12 years of my life had been completely wasted, all my hard work and dedication leading to nothing but heartache and exclusion. Gratefully, I had managed to save enough money to support myself for a few months, giving me the financial stability to rebuild my life after everything had fallen apart. 8 months have passed since that fateful day, and during this time, I sought therapy to combat the depression that threatened to consume me. The constant reminders of my sister's happiness through her social media posts exacerbated my feelings of inadequacy and betrayal, leading me to make the difficult decision to block her. I also informed my relatives that I no longer wished to communicate with them, requesting that they refrain from sharing any family news with me, regardless of its significance. They respected my wishes and kept all information from me, leaving me completely unaware of my father's deteriorating health. A week ago, I finally learned the full extent of our father's condition when he called me from the hospital, informing me that he had suffered a cardiac arrest during the night and urgently needed me to come see him. Since I had blocked his number, he had to reach out through someone else's phone. Initially, I felt immense guilt for this, but memories of my father's previous actions and the pain he had caused me lessened those feelings somewhat. Upon arriving at the hospital, I was met by my mother and father, but to my surprise and confusion, my sister and her fiancé were nowhere to be found. This was perplexing, as I had always assumed they were closely involved in the business, requiring their constant presence and support, especially during such critical times. Unable to contain my confusion and concern, I inquired about their whereabouts. My father expressed deep disappointment, revealing that my sister and her fiancé had been too preoccupied to visit him during his hospitalization. This was shocking, considering the family business was highly lucrative and generally operated smoothly without requiring constant oversight, especially in the absence of major crises, at least when I was managing it. My father explained that since my sister had been involved in the business for 12 years, their absence during his health crisis was a significant sign of their lack of commitment and genuine concern for him. Further questioning revealed that they had not visited him since his heart attack. Although he had attempted to contact them, their responses were merely text messages stating that they were too busy and would visit after his discharge. This revelation made my father realize that entrusting the business to my sister and her fiancé had been a grave mistake. Feeling remorseful and regretful, he called me to apologize for excluding me despite my dedication and hard work. He expressed deep regret and guilt over his decision, wanting to rectify his mistake by inviting me back into the family and the business. He had noticed that my sister and her fiancé did not care about him as much as I did, which reinforced his belief that the business should be handed back to me, the rightful heir. We had an emotional and heartfelt discussion in the hospital room, during which my father apologized and formally invited me to rejoin the family business. I was overjoyed and forgave him, prioritizing regaining what I believed I deserved over past grievances. However, the situation took a complicated turn when my father also spoke to my sister, informing her that he wanted her and her fiancé to step away from the business. He had come to the conclusion that, despite always caring for his daughter, she had never truly been there for him during his times of need, demonstrating a level of disrespect he could no longer tolerate. As a result, he was reclaiming his company and reassigning ownership to someone he deemed more deserving. Predictably, my sister reacted with anger and resentment, blaming me for this entire situation. She called me that morning, lashing out with accusations that I was a horrible person for something she considered cruel. I couldn't comprehend why she was so upset, feeling that there was more to her outburst than I understood. She was acting as if she had lost everything due to my actions, but in reality, I believed she was at fault for not visiting our father during his hospitalization. A cardiac arrest is a critical and life-threatening event, and she could have taken time off work to support him. Her selfishness in not showing up led to me finally receiving what I thought was rightfully mine 8 months prior. She had willingly accepted a gift she didn't deserve by taking over the business, so I saw no reason to turn my back on what I was owed. Despite my attempts to console her, she hung up abruptly, leaving me to question whether I was indeed the villain in this scenario. It felt as though I was unfairly bearing the blame for everything, and I was exhausted by the ordeal. This frustration and emotional exhaustion led me to update my initial post, expressing gratitude to those who supported me. I acknowledged that while I felt undeserving of the criticism from my sister, hearing affirming words from strangers who knew nothing about our lives only reinforced my belief that I was in the right. I concluded that I had nothing more to say in my defense, and didn't feel the need to. Since my last conversation with my sister, I hadn't heard back from her, though she hadn't blocked me either, which I took as a positive sign. However, I sensed that there was more to her story than she had revealed. I doubted that someone with a wealthy fiancé would behave so dismissively upon losing access to our business. This led me to realize that her fiancé and his family were facing financial difficulties, with his father's company reportedly struggling and unable to recover over the past year. I suspected that this was a strategic move to infiltrate and eventually take over our family business. Additionally, I couldn't understand why my sister would react so strongly when informed that I was rejoining the business, and she was being asked to leave, especially since her fiancé had his own company to rely on. This discrepancy suggested that something was amiss, and I believed she would eventually reveal the truth. Fortunately, my father had not yet signed any official documents or contracts transferring the business to my sister and her fiancé, thereby avoiding potential complications. They were still operating under his authority, with my sister's fiancé holding a position similar to the one I had previously occupied. He was in training to eventually take over, but given the recent developments, I doubted this would come to fruition. In conversations with my father, he admitted that my sister was deeply upset, but that his main priority was to transfer ownership to me, believing I was better suited to lead the company. He was already consulting with a lawyer to formalize the handover, ensuring that I could assume official control as soon as possible. This prospect filled me with excitement, and I remained undeterred by my sister's dramatic reactions, confident that I was on the path to rightful leadership. A few weeks after my initial update, I shared another significant development. I had officially become the new CEO of my father's jewelry business. The handover process had been completed, and I was now in charge, a moment I had anticipated and worked tirelessly toward for years. Although there were some delays due to my sister's objections and attempts to interfere, my theory that she and her fiancé had been maneuvering to take over the business proved correct. They had strategically positioned themselves to secure a stake in the family business, anticipating that her fiancé's father might relinquish his own company. It was my sister who had influenced our father to entrust the business to her fiancé, leading to my discovery of their true intentions only after reconnecting with my father. My father confessed that his initial decision was clouded by greed and a misplaced belief that someone from a prominent business family would manage our enterprise better than I could. Initially, he had planned to keep me in my current role, but when I expressed that I only wanted to stay if I could lead the company, he became angry. This confrontation resulted in 8 months of distress and turmoil for both of us. Thankfully, he regained his clarity just in time to prevent a significant downturn in the business, as my sister's fiancé and his father were facing severe financial issues, with rumors circulating about his father's business being on the brink of collapse. I had dismissed these rumors, trusting that my father would inform me of any major developments. However, neither of us had reached out during this time, a lapse that proved to be quite unwise. Eventually, my sister admitted her ulterior motives, setting aside her pride to speak candidly with me. She contacted me just days before my official appointment as CEO, revealing that she and her fiancé were desperately seeking employment due to uncertainties surrounding his father's failing business. She asked for my assistance, to which I responded that I would consider it. While I had no objections to hiring them, I couldn't trust them given their initial intentions, which made the situation complicated. I expressed my willingness to help, but emphasized the difficulty of employing individuals I couldn't trust. She agreed to give me time to make a decision, but I was unsure of what to do. In a subsequent update, I shared that I had decided not to hire my sister and her fiancé. I acknowledged that this decision might be perceived as selfish, but I couldn't overlook their lack of compassion and empathy over the past 8 months, as they had shown no concern for anyone but themselves. I confronted my sister in my office, where she lashed out, accusing me of being heartless and selfish. She even expressed regret over my reappointment as CEO, despite her lack of involvement in that decision. Her attempts to portray her actions as a favor to me were baseless and frustrating, as the choice was entirely my father's. I tried to explain that she hadn't done me any favors, especially considering her previous indifference towards me, but she refused to listen and continued to scream. Unable to handle the drama, I called the police to have her escorted out, as I was too busy with work and couldn't afford this level of conflict. After the police intervened, she had little to say and left without further incident. Since then, there has been no communication from her, leading me to believe that she would leave us alone. Even if she didn't, I was prepared to take legal action to protect myself, such as obtaining a restraining order. In summary, my journey through this family turmoil has been incredibly challenging and emotionally draining. After 12 years of unwavering dedication to the family business, being unfairly excluded and handed over to my sister and her fiancé was a devastating blow. The emotional strain of severing ties with my family, combined with the betrayal I felt from my sister's actions, pushed me into a deep depression that required professional help. My father's eventual realization of his mistake and his decision to reinstate me as the CEO of the business has been a bittersweet victory. While I am thrilled to finally lead the company and honor the legacy my grandfather and father built, the lingering resentment and distrust from my sister and her fiancé continue to cast a shadow over what should be a triumphant return. Moving forward, my focus remains on rebuilding the business and ensuring its success, while navigating the complicated and strained dynamics that have emerged within my family. The journey ahead is fraught with challenges, but I am determined to honor my family's legacy and steer the business toward a prosperous future, all while healing from the emotional wounds that this ordeal has inflicted.